Columbia now, just 780 feet directly below the Hubble Space Telescope.
Houston, Digger, we copied KU output to low.
Closing at a rate of about a half a foot per second. That rate will further decrease as Commander Scott Altman brings Columbia to within about 30 feet of the telescope. Hubble is now oriented in the capture attitude. Its solar arrays are fixed parallel to the body of the telescope, everything in order. The shuttle's robot arm is in the poised for capture orientation high above the payload bay. The actual capture expected about 38 minutes from now. From payload bay cameras. Hubble and Columbia currently passing just to the east of the continent of Australia at an altitude of 361 miles. This view, as the orbiter is being maneuvered again within striking distance of the Hubble Space Telescope, you're looking at the slot in which the wide field planetary camera is located. The arm is not yet in motion. This is the motion of the orbiter still being maneuvered to the proper distance from Hubble. Soon to come into view will be the grapple fixture on the Hubble Space Telescope. The relative motion between the two vehicles at that point will be dampened out as Scott Altman puts the brakes on, and Nancy Curry then will be given the go-ahead to begin extending the arm for the actual capture of Hubble. And the grapple fixture now coming into view at the very top of your screen. Hubble directly over the payload bay of Columbia, precise flying being conducted by Commander Scott Altman from the aft flight deck of the orbiter. And Altman beginning to put the brakes on. Curry now moving in for the grapple of the Hubble Space Telescope. Columbia and Hubble over the Pacific Ocean, southwest of Mexico and Central America, standing by for capture. Grapple confirmed.
Houston, we have Hubble on the arm.
Copy, Scooter. Outstanding work, and there's a big sigh of relief we heard from Goddard all the way here.
I think it echoed up here as well.
At 3:31 a.m. Central Time over the Pacific Ocean, using kid gloves, Nancy Curry has a firm grasp on the Hubble Space Telescope after a flawless rendezvous. Holly, now that Hubble is under control of the robot arm, having been captured by Nancy Curry, what are the next procedures that she will be undertaking to begin to maneuver Hubble for its berthing?
Well, Rob, the next major activity, of course, is to move the telescope aft with respect to the orbiter and get it lined up over the FSS and get it berthed. That probably would take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. We'll probably watch her hold the telescope here for a few minutes just to get the solar rays and everything stabilized. The solar rays are really the part of the telescope that you're most concerned about as you begin to maneuver it. One of the advantages of the new arrays that we'll be installing over the next several days is that they're far more rigid, and it won't be quite as necessary for us to be as careful with them as we are with the ones currently on the telescope. In fact, on the television view now, you can see the arrays wobbling just a bit. She'll keep an eye on that as she maneuvers the telescope very slowly back for its cradle. But that'll be the next step. As I say, very carefully, very slowly, she'll maneuver the telescope back for berthing.
And telescope as Nancy Curry prepares to begin the series of procedures to slowly but surely lower it down onto its berthing platform at the rear of Columbia's cargo bay. In this view, in the upper left-hand portion of your picture, is the vent port on the bottom of the telescope through which the cabling and plumbing lines will be snaked through by astronauts John Grunsfeld and Rick Linehan on Friday during the 5th spacewalk of the mission. Those lines will be hooked up between the cryo-cooling device for the near-infrared camera and multi-object spectrometer, the NICMOS infrared scientific instrument, and the radiator for the NICMOS, which will be mounted to the side of the Hubble Space Telescope to provide the proper cooling for NICMOS and revive it into scientific operation for the first time since 1999. Again, once Hubble is berthed and latched in place, a remotely operated electrical umbilical plug will be commanded to extend from the flight support system and plug into Hubble, providing external power to the telescope so that once the orbiter is maneuvered toward the sun, the solar rays can generate electricity to recharge the 6 nickel-cadmium batteries in the telescope itself. That will be just prior to the time that the berthing platform or the flight support system is pivoted forward to about 75 degrees, and the arrays will be maneuvered also into what is known as the 0-degree position, basically perpendicular to the body of the telescope. They have been parallel to the telescope since early this morning in preparation for its retrieval. They will be slewed back to a perpendicular position to the body of the telescope, and then the flight support system will be pivoted forward to 75 degrees and rotated so that each of the arrays can serially be presented to the front of the payload bay for their retraction.